What's up, guys? So we just got done recording The Last Guardian, or our first part of The Last Guardian, a big chunk of it. And so, Marnix, what was your first thoughts on the game?
Well, we expected the story to be vague. It's a Team Ico game. It's always been that way. But even then, it's been pretty compelling to see how your relationship with this beast progresses and how that affects the gameplay. Like, at the start, it really doesn't do anything that you say, but you sort of get a sense of where it wants you to go, and it gets kind of a sense of where you want it to go. And that progresses bit by bit as you feed it, as you interact with it, as you help it with obstacles, and when it saves you a few times, you begin to be able to command it, and that opens up more controls. So that's a really, really cool idea, and that's not exactly how I thought it was going to go. I thought, this is what it was going to be the entire game. So that was awesome. And then, of course, they're the freaking visuals. They may have gone a bit overboard with the bloom sometimes, where I actually cannot see anything but white glow. But it does make for a striking effect when you just walk out of a dark room and suddenly there's this whole, stunning vista ahead of you where, just this incredible capacity for architecture mixed with nature that they have always been able to do so well.
Now that
creates an awesome setting.
That goes to something that I'm been wondering is a lot of game, like there's been a lot of talk about is a game pre-ordering games has been a big topic. Should we pre-order games? How long should we wait for a good game? Because we had one example was for Destiny, or No Man's Sky, was that the other one that just came out? And a lot of people were upset because they're like, oh, we waited for this game and it wasn't really what we were expecting.
No Man's Sky is a little bit different because it was fan-funded. I mean, this is a Kickstarter project. Everyone's invested money in it. And certain promises were made by the developers, and those promises weren't delivered on. Meanwhile, with a pre-order, you're not really doing it with the intent of sponsoring the game. You're doing it, because you're going to buy it anyway, and it basically ensures your copy.
Well, true, but I think a lot of people still see it as like because even if they put $5 down, like with GameStop, they put $5 down, it's going towards helping to finish that game. It's going towards those companies. That's something that GameStop has to, that's why they are continuously getting pre-orders. And I think...
that's true. I get that.
But I think a lot of people are just upset because a lot of people are feeling like they're getting unfinished games still after pre-ordering. And I think that was a big thing with Destiny. It's like, oh, we got Destiny. Now we have to, buy this DLC 2, 3, and then another game to add on to it, and you're still not getting a full game. You're buying parts of it.
Well, yeah, and the thing is,
but
this is just, it's really hard to say, first of all, when a game is finished. And this is true, I think, for any kind of art as well. It's just that video games happen to have online connectivity so they can be updated. But if an artist often had a choice to change their painting, and if it was still in their control, they would modify it whenever they could, because they feel embarrassed by it, they feel like they need to fix something, they're like, oh, there's something I didn't do right, let me take it back and change it. I mean, if artists had their say in it, their art might never be complete. So the idea of a completed game is one thing. You can have a game that has flaws, whether you spend 10 years on it, like you did for this game, or whether you spent a year on it.
And I think that's one of the reasons why that was a whole big thing of Destiny. Like, oh, we spent all we pre-ordered this and we're not getting a full game. You had games like, but should we have to wait 10 years for a game? Because you have like Kingdom Hearts 3 coming out. You had The Last Guardian. You had Final Fantasy 15. games we've waited 10 years for, and we're just now getting.
I mean, it's not really a question of should we have to wait for it. To me, it's just probably not the best idea on the game developer side to have it take that long, because interests do die and hype often keeps going higher for people who stay on that train for that long.
And the problem with that is,
you end up with a lot of disappointment and perhaps a bit less notoriety. I mean, if Duke Nukem was any indication, taking 12 years to make a game...
It depends, because with Duke Nukem, I don't think that, like... I think with games, too, that, you do have that. With Duke Nukem, I felt that they just kind of threw something together, and that's what we got, versus something like Final Fantasy 15 or something like the Last Guardian that time was used to really polish the game, to bring it to the vision what the developers wanted. Because I was watching earlier a video on Final Fantasy 15, what it was when it was versus 13 versus what it is now. It's went through so many changes. It's went in the story, in the gameplay, in the characters. A lot of the core elements are still in there, but I'm very happy with, have waited 10 years to see what it is now versus what it was when it was versus 13.
So I haven't played that, so I can't really speak to that. I do believe there's going to be this extent where there's not a clear rule on this. I mean, it could be that some games, the development's going stale, and you're realizing that you can't really make a good game with what you originally planned, and you have to make changes, and that means pushing back the deadline. And
another thing about it is that I think
a decision you're having to make
with Final Fantasy 15 and with The Last of Us, or with not The Last of Us, The Last Guardian, is that we also got we have the PS4 now, we have the Xbox One now, we have systems that that will allow us to be able to do the things that we want. Same things that we saw in there with the feathers, with the water.
Well,
physics.
I was going to ask you, while playing Last Guardian, did you feel like you could see where this was originally made to be a PS3 game? Because I felt like I could in a lot of little bits.
There's a lot of little bits
where you feel like the fidelity's not that good, or the aliasing isn't that good. Like, there's little bits of roughness on chains, on textures, where it doesn't look as smooth as I'd expect from a PS4 game. So it's not as stunning as it might have been had it released back when it was intended to be released.
It's yes and no on that one, because again,
I can go back and play Shadow of the Colossus, which was released ages ago on the PS2, and it still looks gorgeous to me, even though it's not.
Probably you could say the same thing, like what you're saying with the controls. You probably feel that PS2, PS3 era in there. For me, like I said, when I saw like the water move, like you see Trico jump into the water, and his weight moves the water into waves and pushes our character out of the way.
They made that beast seem so real.
Or what we were saying, like him getting his head stuck and then having to fold his ears in to get unstuck. These are little things that were that I just. Yeah, I can see that it could have been a PS2 or PS3 game, but I see that those little bits and little pieces, that generation could not have harnessed that.
I mean, I'm not a developer. I don't know what the PS2 or the PS3 could harness. I'm sure the PS2 couldn't do what this game is doing, but I do really appreciate that they spent so much time getting Trico right, because I mean, he is the main set piece, and if they don't make him move in a way that makes sense, if they don't make him seem like the animal that he is, the game would get really irritating really fast.
Well, I mean, and you
said they managed to not do that, where you feel like you're really interacting with this animal, and it gets more and more responsive to you.
Yeah. And you had, like I said, you also had little things, like we were saying, like with the character running and the character falling and little things
stumbling,
like that.
And every time you do any action, there are parts of it you can't control that happen afterwards or before it. Like if you roll and there's some sort of bit of rubble in the way, then you stumble a little bit and you don't get up as fast. There's all these little animations that make the entire world feel like you're in it and make it more palpable. And those little details, like we mentioned in Studio Ghibli movies, we just saw Spirited Away in theaters a couple nights ago, and were marveling at how they did similar things when she is running down those stairs. And actually, they use a similar animation when he's running down the stairs.
Yeah.
He puts his arms back and is sort of stumbling down, keeping his balance, because he's going down the stairs really fast. And if you try to do that in real life, it's really hard to go down the stairs fast. I mean, it's kind of a frightening experience.
Or when she was putting on her shoes and tapping her shoes to make sure they were on tightly. You know, just little things that I think for those who do go into this are, you know, it really shows. Now, that's what we're going with the 10 years thing. There's going to be people that are going to lose interest. It's not going to be as well known. And the hype is going to get to the point where people are going to expect a lot of this. And same thing with Final Fantasy 15. People are going to be disappointed no matter what. And I think the longer it takes to make a game, it's going to get... Well,
because there's going to be diminishing returns, right? So a game that takes 2 years versus a game that takes 10 years, the game that takes 10 years isn't going to be 5 times better than the game that takes 2 years. That's just not how it works.
Like I said, it depends.
If you spend 10 years getting Trico right, it'll be a much better game than if you didn't get Trico right. And if it takes 10 years, it takes 10 years. I guess that's just the long and short of it. But it's not going to seem like that 10 years is worth it because, you know, if Shadow of the Colossus didn't take that long and we didn't have to wait for it that long, you announced it a year ahead of time, you release Shadow of the Colossus, and you play a masterpiece that only took 2 years to make. It starts to seem like, oh, I waited this long for this game, and it's not even as good as their previous title. That's going to be a bit off-putting.
Yeah.
That said, we've only played 4 hours of this game, which I'm not sure how long it's supposed to be. But I guess about 10 hours.
Yeah. So we're gonna wrap this up. But you know, like I said, today's been a pretty big day. We got a lot of recording done for this. This week you'll have Final Fantasy 15 videos, World of Final Fantasy videos. I'll be finishing up Transformers Devastation and Odin Sphere. You'll definitely be getting videos up for The Last Guardian. I just did a reaction video for the new Spider-Man Homecoming trailer. That is definitely going to be a great movie.
It's going to be so good.
You know, a lot of other trailers were coming up today, like the Ni no Kuni 2 trailer went up today. And apparently at the end of December, I think it's December 22nd, the Nier 2 demo is supposed to be coming out. So that's going to be a lot of fun. I'm probably not going to do a video on it, but if you're interested in Nier, if you can go out and play the first one, go out and play the first one. But the second one looks like it's going to be just as good. So questions, comments, life problems, leave it in the section below. If you liked the video, hit the like button, and if you want to see more, hit the subscribe button. I will catch you guys next time.
Nice to meet y'all.